Have you checked the children? You're a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
Fuego here.
Rolo.
Another edition of Christmas in Hell for you guys, and today we are covering another set of comics. This is actually the Hellraiser Masterpieces Volume 1 and 2 horror anthologies. Now, this is a collection of stories from the early 90s Hellraiser series. I don't even know what books they came from, but they collected a number of them and put them into these two masterpiece collections. And the reason why we wanted to cover them is A, they're interesting, B, it's an anthology, and we cover a lot of anthologies, and C, the talent involved is really interesting. For instance, the very first story in this one is called Raising Hell Part 1. There is no Part 2 in the Volume 2, so it's kind of weird, it's just left hanging. But this was done by Larry Wachowski. So one of the people behind the Matrices before he turned into Lana Wachowski. The Matrices, the Matrix movies.
I'm like,
The
The Matrix movies, yeah. So this is an anthology, and I'll try and give you guys a sample of the art in each of these. This is the art in the Wachowski story. But so let's talk about the overall
There's a lot of
thoughts
stories
before
in
we
each
get
of
into these. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my overall thoughts are, again, like most anthologies, there are some that are definitely better than others. Some stories I just frankly gave up on because I was like, I don't care about what's going on. Not that many, I think just maybe one that I did that, but the others varied from okay to meh to really good. So, I mean, that's my overall thoughts on them. What about for you guys?
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I actually, in some ways, think I like the second volume a little bit better.
Well, there's almost twice as many stories in that one.
Yeah, these are a little bit shorter in my estimation because in this one they have the one that was at
And
least
it's bigger. I'll show you the side by side there.
It's bigger. Oh boy.
What were you saying?
Well, I mean, in the first one, like a large chunk of the back half of the book is all this story that was conceived by Barker that he handed off to, a team of writers, and it was illustrated by Alex Ross. It's beautifully painted artwork.
That's the heroine, right?
Yeah, and that's the one that actually ties in with the backstory of the Native Americans and the opening up of the portal and all that other stuff. I enjoyed that
because
quite a bit.
we had like 4, maybe 5 different stories between both of these books
that tie in with this new mythology.
Exactly, and those were actually done really well.
From the heroine.
I enjoyed those characters and everything, especially the dude with the kitty cat.
Yeah, and I think this was even before Alex Ross had done Marvel, so he was not a household name at this point.
No.
They did not bring him back for the second portion of it, but it was somebody doing a similar looking
The
style.
Cenobite Army page is pretty dope.
Honestly, I got major
Benedict.
major Nightbreed vibes,
Yeah.
Cabal vibes from that story in particular, and it was right around the time that he had just adapted that into film, and so.
So we got part 1 in this book, and then part 2 in that book.
But you also have the prequel that tells you about that force
in that book as well.
Yeah, the force that's going after Leviathan and actually calls all of these different people. So that stuff was fascinating. I
the Harrowers being the group of people that are brought together to fight the Leviathan.
Yeah, exactly. And the Cenobites that are dispatched to go and mess with. But I mean, you even have the connective story in the back of this where in the second volume where you've got those comedians and they're up there, and one of the characters from that big overarching story, Harbingers, whatever, right? Harrowers.
The Harrowers.
Yeah. There is a Harrower that is actually trying to save those two comedian guys, down in hell, and so I mean, yeah, it's nice to have like overarching kind of threading nature story, and then all of the rest are just their own self-encompassed sort of thing.
Yeah, you have, as we mentioned in a review coming up tomorrow, our Hellbound Hearts review. There's this story, Wordsworth, by Neil Gaiman and Dave McKean, which has really very typical Dave McKean artwork, very abstract and everything, but it's still an interesting story. I quite liked it better in this format because in the book they take out the color and instead they show, it's all in black and white and it's fuzzy and
it's very grainy.
Yeah, very grainy, so you can't really appreciate it. I think it's a pretty good story. I definitely enjoyed it more in color, but it's not so good that I think it necessitates, particular attention.
Yeah, it's a very kind of meandering narrative that doesn't really directly tell you as much of what's going on. Very game in that regard, I will give it that.
I tell you, one of the stories that I like the most in both volumes is right here by Dwayne McDuffie, who was a force in the comic book industry, especially for the black side of things. He was a black creator that became an editor in DC Comics and gained a lot of attention. Helped, if I'm not mistaken, co-create the Milestone universe. And they're now going to be revisiting that soon, if I'm not mistaken. But this one's called Writer's Lament, and this is about a guy that brings in his baby to show.
Yeah. This is
he
one where
brings in his baby to show the corporate people what they think of his creation.
Yeah, but it's all in hell, dude.
But it's all in hell, and so this corporate guy starts literally disassembling the baby, saying, "Oh, I think we need to take its eye out, remove an arm, let's just rip its nuts off." And he's like, "There, what do you think of your baby now?" And it's all an analogy for screenwriting in Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you're presenting your baby, you have to kill your babies if you want to be successful in Hollywood. And it's the shortest story of the entire 2-volume series, but I still think it's one of the most poignant. Yeah,
delightfully meta.
So, I mean, again, we're not going to go through each individual story, but there's enough in these volumes that I think it's worth picking them up and checking them out for sure. Because again,
long out of print now,
I'm going to reiterate. You'll see in the next couple of videos where I think that Hellraiser specifically works so well for anthological storytelling, and these
big time
trades really demonstrate that. Go ahead. What's that one?
So obviously, this is coming from Volume 2 of the Hellraiser series. So this one is called Baby Cakes. It's from
oh, that was a good one.
Yeah, I'm gonna butcher this last name. Faye Perozic.
Okay.
But art by Gary Tallow. But anyway, so basically this is about a girl or a woman who is trying to conceive a baby, and she's going through any means possible.
Oh, I remember this one.
And she comes across the lament configuration, and what do people do in the times of desperation in the Hellraiser universe? You fuck around and you open the box.
Deal with the double situation.
So she gets her wish and everything, and she calls in at this Zenobite right down up on here and everything. This Vin Diesel looking ass motherfucker. But here's a little better picture and everything for him. But yeah, so basically, and he, in a sense, gives her child.
Yeah.
But then there's possibility for more.
And more.
Yes,
exactly.
a child configuration.
But this story was definitely one of the ones out of on the singular stories versus from the Hellraiser stories that definitely stuck out more in this one. And I'm with Jaime on the agreeance. I like Volume 2 more than I do Volume 1.
I agree with you guys. Having just flipped through the back half of this, the last 3 stories of the 9 are just not really good in my opinion in this volume, but in that volume they're really good. So there's one called Dead Things Rot in this, and this was another story. This was done by Mike Mignola. Again,
this is one
story and
artwork.
artwork.
One that I think it is.
And this is the one that's done by the guy that created Hellboy. So you can see a very similar art style to the Hellboy universe. But you get his version of kind of Hellraiser stuff. So I think this is, one that's worth...
the design
now,
for
Clown is the Cenobite in
Now,
this
is
one.
that the one where he is stealing the faces of everybody, or is that a different story than I'm thinking?
No,
that is the
first
one of this.
Yeah, because there's an interesting one in one of these 2 volumes where this actor, he can't get the proper work that he wants, and so he is killing people and taking their faces. And he goes on to portray all of these different things, and he's pining for this particular woman.
See, I like the one in that volume where it's the dude that's being tortured, that's having pieces of himself carved away by the hot Cenobite.
Oh, and he's in love
falls in love with her.
That was another one that I wanted to mention later on after Fuego was talking about.
And then he starts, another tortured starts to capture her heart, and he becomes basically a hanging cuck.
Yeah, but then there's another story that is the exact role reversal of this really sick, twisted woman who keeps summoning this particular Cenobite, and the Cenobite is in love with her, and so he doesn't want to take her into hell despite all of her beckoning and pleading, because he's like, no, I want to save you. I'm going against Leviathan in this. And so you get so many different angles and conviction amongst both, Order of the Gash and regular people. It's just, once again, there's stories like the one about the boxer, which is just kind of dumb, but yet there's other ones that explore a fascinating dynamic you've never seen in Hellraiser before.
Yeah, definitely. If you're gonna buy one of the 2 volumes, definitely buy volume 2. But if you want,
It's definitely
if
got
you
the
want
stronger
extra
of the
stories,
stories.
yeah, then definitely get volume 1 as well.
Yeah,
so.
two is not without its other weaker stories. Like I didn't like the one about the guys playing Russian roulette with
This
the gun.
one.
I thought that was
I
actually
thought
not bad.
I thought the
This
art
one.
was
That's
that's
the
the
one,
one
yeah.
Cecil was
This
just
is the
talking
one we were
about.
just talking about with basically the cuck.
Yeah.
I didn't mind. I thought the Russian roulette one was kind of cool, actually.
I thought the art was really
But-
good. The story, I mean, it
It's-
seemed less
it
Hellraiser-y
was
to me.
slow to get into it, but
Yeah.
I did end up liking it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I
Ton
think
of really fascinating stories in
overall
here, though.
they're worth your time. Definitely volume 2 more so than volume 1. But if you like the Hellraiser canon, if you like Hellraiser lore, and if you like the idea of short stories not necessarily having to do with Pinhead and the direct Cenobites, but still people running into Cenobites and how, these are great volumes to check out. 100%.
Yeah, most of it.
My only gripe with this, and I'm trying to find it here.
Well,
at the
in the
end.
sequel to The Harrowing, it does leave you on a cliffhanger, and it's also not Alex Ross
Yeah.
doing the art in the
Right.
second,
Okay.
second
Well,
one.
either way, I'm just gonna go back to this. It's basically Joe Rogan as Pinhead.
Nah.
Like,
All right. Well,
I'm just gonna.
fair enough. It's a gripe.
Sure, certainly.
But that's going to do it for our review of Hellraiser Masterpieces Volume 1 and 2. If you guys haven't checked them out, again, that's our recommendation.
They're worth it.
They're
Definitely
definitely
are.
worth it, specifically Volume 2. But if you want all of it, I mean, that screenwriter Killing Babies one is in Volume 1. So if you want that one, which I think was the most fun of
And
all
also
of them.
the first part of the one that Barker
and the first part of the
conceived
Barker
himself, so.
harrowing, yeah,
Alex
you need
Ross,
that too. So
yeah.
check them out; they're very worth it. Stay tuned tomorrow. Christmas in Hell continues with our review of Hellbound Hearts. Thank you guys very much for watching. I imagine there might be a trailer reaction video going up in between these two things as well, so stay tuned for that.
Those still do good for
Until
us.
next time, though, I've been Cecil Laird,
Gracias, I mean, fuego.
Robert Duell.
and remember, stay scared.